Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This is going to be a Battle of the Palettes GlossGods edition. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. This is going to be a palette battle video with the 7 GlossGods palettes that are currently in my makeup collection. GlossGods is a Swedish indie brand that I discovered early last year, and I have been loving them ever since. So this sort of happened over time, but it's time today to determine which one is my ultimate favorite. And if you've been with me, then I think you can take a guess which one of these is my top favorite. So I have 7 palettes from this brand. They tend to do 12 pans mostly, but they do palettes in different setups as well. However, the ones I have are all of the 12 pan format, and they retail for around the 40 to 45 euro mark. I think it's like 43 euros, and then you need to add shipping, of course, but since this brand is based in the EU, and I'm based in the EU, for me it has been one of the cheaper options to buy indie eyeshadow. Some of these, like if people see these, they think of ColourPop because the palettes are made of like a similar cardboard slimline packaging. However, the quality inside it is nothing like ColourPop, let me tell you. They also do a lot of fun things. They do some really good mattes. They do interesting shimmers. And there's always something in their palettes that makes it more unique. Not just the effects palettes, because that's definitely something they do. They definitely have palettes in their range that are aimed to be used in a more creative way. Very often they are very shimmer heavy, but they do lots of duochromes and multi-chrome-like colors in a lot of their palettes. So even if you buy a neutral palette from them, it will still have a duochrome, multi-chrome, something like that in there. And I feel that adds to the interest. And if you want to try like multi-chromes in a palette, then I feel GlossGods is still one of the more affordable ones, because a lot of indie brands have been upping their prices in recent years because they're doing these special shades. And I think GlossGods is a brand that shows us that you can give that kind of quality, but at half the price of what some indie brands go for. Of course, some of those indie brands also do larger palettes. So, you know, you get 20 or maybe 25 shades or maybe even more. So that's definitely like more product as well. So if you then look at cost per use, then these are roughly as expensive, I feel. But I also feel that for some people, like the initial amount of money you need to put down, especially with the kind of makeup collections that some of us have, then this I think is a easier price point if you want to try indie brands and you never have done so before, or if you're looking for interesting neutral palettes that have a bit of a twist to them. I think they can be a really good one-stop shop. But also for those people who just want to be super creative and want to get all of their creative juices flowing, I feel the brand definitely has something to offer. I have 3 of their effects palettes. I've got 2 cool tone palettes and 2 neutral palettes. So those are the 3 categories we're going to discuss these in and pick my favorite of each one, and then ultimately decide which one is my favorite GlossGods palette. And to make it easy on myself, I'm going to kick things off with the effects palettes. As unique and enjoyable as these are my least reach for because they tend to be a little bit out there and a little bit wacky. Have I been able to do stunning looks with these, and has no one come up to me and like, what are you wearing? That hasn't happened at all. But definitely the Gal on the Moon, which is one of the later ones that I got. This came back when they launched some new palettes that were also called Verse Gal. So this is a little mini series that they're doing with 4 palettes, and they did 2 originally, and those came back reformulated at the end of last year, and that's when I picked up mine. Some people were saying, based on the comments that I had on this palette, that I got one of the old ones, but I bought this when this relaunched. So this wasn't an old one. Yeah, this was the relaunched one, and I definitely feel that this is a slightly different quality to some of the other GlossGods palettes I have. This is stunning. This little diagonal row here are all multi-chromes, and those were the things that I felt were the letdown of the palette. I really wanted to try these multi-chromes because I love a multi-chrome. I'm like well, this is not the most multi-chrome look, but the palette I used to create this look has some stunning multi-chromes in as well. But these were really hard pressed and difficult to pick up, and I didn't love it for that reason. So this is definitely not my favorite effects palette that they do. However, we get some really stunning purple tones in here, and also these blue greens. Like if you go for their more flaky stuff, I feel that's really where they shine. And usually I don't love a flaky shimmer, but with GlossGods, they are some of my favorites. But then we need to go for the hard pick between Dancing in the Sky and the Color of Rain. The Dancing in the Sky has been discontinued since I bought it. This is one of the first palettes from the brand that I purchased, together with one of the neutral palettes, just to give them a try. I bought a neutral, I bought a fun, colorful things to try out and see how it went. And this is overall a green 100% shimmer palette. You can of course see that you do get some like different tones in here, but I think you can also see that these are mainly like duochromes. But I split this in like 2 halves to create some looks with, and it worked really, really well. I love the way this looks on me. However, I think the Color of Rain, which you can still get, is my favorite effects palettes that I have tried from them. The reason being that this has a black matte in it, which makes these duochromes shift differently if you put them over the black. So in terms of like an effects palette with actual versatility, the Color of Rain I think is a lot better. The only shade I didn't love is this pinky tone, and if you cover that up, you can see this is a stunning blue, green, purple shimmer palette. And as I mentioned, you can use the black to deepen things up and to create more dimension in the look, because these are the kinds of shades that if you put them over different bases, they're gonna look different. Put them over a white base, the shift is going to alter. Put them over a neutral base, it's going to alter. And if you pair them with black, they're going to have this level of intensity that makes this palette a lot more versatile than the other 2 I've shown you so far. And this, I think you can see a little bit when I hold it up into the light. This mainly has that more flaky shimmer quality that I feel GlossGods does really, really well. If you don't like flaky shimmers, then maybe stay away from the effects palettes. You tend to only get like 1 or 2 of those flaky things in the more neutral things that they do. But I do think this is one of the most creative palettes I have in my makeup collection, and you can do some really fun things with this one. So this is my pick to go to the next round from the effects palettes. And then I have 2 of their cool tone palettes. One of these was a limited edition, and the other one they came out with last year. GlossGods and their stock can be a little hit and miss. I would recommend adding your email address to be notified, because that's how I was able to pick up quite a lot of these. When they go out of stock, they will send out notifications when they do come back. So I would definitely sign up to their mailing list so that you can get be there the first. That's how I got the Color of Rain actually. But the Color of Rain I got in that way because that was out of stock and I wasn't sure whether I was gonna buy it or not. And then I got my hands on it that way. But the limited edition one that I have here is one that I know a lot of you have said that you missed out on. This is the Smoke and Mirrors, and this was such a gamble for me because I had just purchased the Dancing in the Sky and the neutral palette that I just mentioned, and I hadn't even tried them. So I didn't know whether I was gonna love this formula, yes or no. But then they announced this as being limited edition for Christmas, and this has me written all over it. Like, for a neutral palette that is more cool tone leaning, I think this is one of the best things that a brand has ever done. Yes, we get grays, but we also get these like heather purpley pinks. We get this interesting cooler tone bronze, and we get some neutrals. So you definitely get a little bit of everything without it being too gray heavy, because I feel that most brands, whenever they do a cool tone, they just go for the grays and they pretty much ignore all the other neutral tones you could possibly do. And I feel they got the memo and they did really well. This is quite matte heavy though. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so it's like 50-50 mattes and shimmers, so I do really like it. But you can no longer get it, even though this has some of my favorite shades in. So I think from the cool tone ones, I do have to go for the later one. You know I love this. I've put this in like my top favorite palette of the year last year. or maybe, no, when I ranked my palettes this year. I was like, when did I film that video? But it was last July that I ranked all of the palettes that I had tried so far this year, and this one came out on top. I put this in my top 3 favorites in the eye category that you were able to see last Sunday. I love the first Gala on Jupiter, and here is what that palette looks like. They also came out with a warm-toned one, which I believe was the Mars one, but this was my pick of the two. And this one had a bit of a mishap, so the promo pictures actually looked different from what the palette actually looks like, because the manufacturer put the mattes and the shimmers in the wrong order. So the mattes are now all here, and they were supposed to be sprinkled around. I like that this has more shimmers than mattes, so you do get 7 shimmers and 5 mattes. So that's why I like it a bit more than the Smoke and Mirrors as well. You do get a shade that it's a little bit similar to other things they've done, but I feel that this like reddish bronze shade is so unique anyway, and it really adds to the depth of this palette, at least in my opinion. You also get a holographic shade in here. This little like silvery moment has a lot of multi-dimensional sparkle to it when it goes onto the eyes. It has some stunning taupes and silvers and like gray tones. It does have a matte here that is a little bit more warm leaning, but I feel that it goes really well with the rest of the palette. And I wish there was a like neutral in between these two. Like these two are too similar to me. So if this would have been like a combination of these two, I would have liked it a little bit better. So if this were deeper, I like it. But what I just tend to do is that I blend these two shades together to make that work. So of the cool tone ones, this is the one that's gonna go onto the next round, because I love my first Gala on Jupiter. And that brings me to the final category in the first round, which is the neutral palettes. I have the new neutrals. This is the first palette I purchased together with the Dancing in the Sky. I dropped mine, so it's a bit messy. I was able to repress it, but the packaging is essentially ruined. So I do apologize for what this looks like. And here's what I mean with GlossGods doing really, really good palettes. You get your like, they're not really cool tones, but they're like green leaning neutrals here at the bottom. Then you get these warmer tones in the middle, and you get some true neutrals at the top. This is a multi-chrome. This has a green shift. This is flaky, but you get a really nice mix of things. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 7 shimmers with just 5 mattes, but I get exactly the mattes that I want to create some looks with this. So the new neutrals has been a really good one, and this one has also been ranked really high as one of my favorite palettes of the year when I first started to try the brand. However, they just released this year. This is the Let's Get Nude, and this was my foray into warm tones this year. I have sort of not reverted back to loving warm tones. I think that I can get away with a warm tone most of the time anyways, but I really fell back in love with them this year. So when the brand announced this, I was like, okay, this is going to be one of the warm tone palettes of choice. I didn't buy too many things. I just got one K-Beauty thing by Roman, and I got this so far. I didn't cave. I decided to go back to some of the warm tone palettes already in my collection rather than buying loads of new stuff. But here's what the Let's Get Nude looks like. And I have to say that this is one of the palettes where I felt a little bit, not duped, but some of these shades pulled differently on my lids than, like, they just look different from what I had expected them to look like based on what they look like in swatches and in the pan. So for me, I think the undertones in this are perhaps a little, maybe I just need to get used to warm tones on myself again as well. That may be part of it. So for me, I still think the new neutrals is going to be the pick. But if you love your warm tones, this has some stunning shades in. I was hoping that these would be a little bit more purpley on me, but I felt they didn't quite do that. So you will see me reviewing this very soon for you though. I was supposed to try it in August, then I got ill. So I tried it really, really early on this September, but you're going to see the looks and swatches that I did with this palette this coming weekend. So if you want to see my full review with this and see what it looks like on me, then you can just watch that video. So that means that the new neutrals remix is going to go into the next round as a palette that I need to decide, is that my favorite? So that means I have a choice of 3 palettes for the next round. And you know, I love a neutral, so it's going to be between these two. Not because I don't love or appreciate the effects palettes, as I've mentioned. I think they do a really, really cool, unique thing that not a lot of brands do. And I also appreciate that there is no price difference between something that is this shimmer heavy and shifty heavy to compare to the palettes that also have lots of mattes in. So I definitely think that's a good thing about this, but we all knew going into this that I was going to pick a neutral palette because these are some of my favorite neutral palettes, and this is as lovely as it is. I think I would go for something colorful from another brand even over this, even though I do really appreciate it. Which brings me to the final 2, and I can't pick. I really, really can't pick. Like, if I'm in a mood for a good cool tone, I would go this. If I want to go for something super neutral, I would go for this. And I think today, where I'm at today, I think the new neutrals would be the pick. Mainly because it just has more options. This is far more versatile because you do get something that, at least on me, pulls a little bit cool toned with these shades at the bottom. The warm tones have the warmth that I'm currently loving, and you do get some lighter neutrals to really round up the look. There are some multi-chromes in here. Overall, it just has some really, really stunning things going for it. So that's why I think the new neutrals remixed, that's going to be my top pick. But ask me tomorrow and I'll probably say First Gal on Jupiter, because if I'm really in that cool tone mood, this is what I go for. I just think that this has fewer options. Like in here, there are 1 or 2 looks I would do with it all the time. Whereas with the new neutrals remixed, I can see like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like I could keep doing different looks with it and it would come out differently every single time. And I just feel this is a touch less versatile. So even though I love this palette, I think my original favorite, the new neutrals remixed, is still one of my favorite ones. And yeah, I do realize that I could clean that packaging a bit better, but the shadow is stuck to the magnets of the packaging, so that's why it's not coming off. I did try cleaning that with a makeup wipe and alcohol and the whole 9 yards. So this is about as clean as it's going to get. But yeah, that's going to be my favorite GlossGods palette. So shocker to me at least, because before I sat down to film this video, I was bang on sure that the First Gal on Jupiter would be my favorite. But then I was like comparing them here as I was talking you through it. And I was like, no, I think the new neutrals remix is much more versatile, much more universally flattering for so many different people, and it's just something that I could wear like in forever and I would never ever get bored with it. Whereas with the First Gal on Jupiter, it definitely has good options, but I think it has fewer options than a new neutrals remixed. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with that. So thank you so very much for joining me here today. Let me know in a comment down below what your favorite is from my little pile here. Maybe you've tried other GlossGods palettes that I don't have in my collection. So let me know if there's anything that is still available on the website that you feel I should try next. I'm personally hoping that, like last year, they're going to come out with a new palette for Black Friday, because that's what they did then, and I hope that they are. And if that's something that I'm interested in, then I'm definitely going to pick it up, because this is now one of my favorite indie brands. So GlossGods just needed a little bit more loving again. So thank you so very much for joining me here today. Thumbs up the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more by me, because I do make regular content on this channel, on my second channel, and over on the blog. So you never have to miss a minute of me if you don't want to. So check back again soon, and then I hope to see you in my next one. Bye-bye, take care.